Hello colors, my name is Teal and welcome to the third and final part of the lore and secrets of Owlboy. In this video we will discuss the theories of Owlboy and try some experiments. I invite you to comment your thoughts and opinions after watching this. I will be glad to read them. Also, a huge thank you for all the support. You guys are amazing. After discovering the truth behind the hex and the anti-hex, and after hearing Aegolius's and Nocte's stories, I felt empty. I needed to fill that emptiness with something. In fact, what really triggered me was this sentence of Nocte. And perhaps in the next loop I will not have to die after all. Something was missing. My approach on solving the puzzle was to revisit all the places where there were hints, runes or constructions left by the ancient owls. So let's get started. Valley, our village, our friends, our safe zone. Or not. There are two main things that strike me here. One is the graveyard. Advent citizens are supposedly buried here, but why not just burying them in Advent, since there's plenty of space? Even Toby's wife is buried there. Maybe it's not just human citizens, but owls who died in combat. All in all, I just feel like there's something odd when you visit the graveyard. Like, music stops, some kind of wind bells ring, and that's it? Sadly, I couldn't find much more to that. The other thing that strikes me are these runes. Since the beginning of the game, I got this triple question mark, hoping someday I could read something or even enter them. I don't know how many times I visited them, but it only changed once after the Advent attack, where the runes have been opened. Like, come on, at least tell me what it is. Of course, it's mentioned that it is where the relic of Valley is hidden, but please, I would like to know how and where it's hidden. A curious detail is that you find Solus being bullied by Bonacci and Fib just outside these ruins. I suppose this is the time he secretly stole the relic to give it to the pirates and gain their trust. Damn you, Solus, so many dead in your name. But back to Fib and Bonacci. Of course, their names together form the word Fibonacci.
By the way, I didn't get it last time, but it's Fib and Bonacci, Fibonacci. Maybe it was obvious to you, but it took some time for me.
Fibonacci was an Italian mathematician who introduced a sequence in which each number is the sum of the two preceding ones. So what does this have to do with the game? Well, this sequence is often also called Fibonacci loop. Guess where I'm going? The sequence is also sometimes related to some animals. But sorry, owls are not one of them. My opinion is Fib and Bonacci are just a wink to the whole lore and story of Owlboy. That's it. Here, have a Fibonacci owl drawn by Arc4N or Arcan. Now let's jump to the next spot, Valley Cave. I didn't stop enough time on this spot to figure out those numbers are actually letters from the alphabet and what do they spell? One of the four weights. Which four? I guess he refers to their four main owls. Cernia, Aegolius, Nocte, and the mean face? As far as I know, it could also include the little one or the combat instruction owl. Okay, that's that for the number of owls. But what about who waits? Maybe it's Cernia, the one who created the owl sanctuary. Maybe he wanted to leave a message behind, so eventually someone found it. I mean, he didn't just build that memorial so no one paid him a visit, right? Another theory that would answer the question would be that the one who left the message behind is Aegolius. Ashamed by his actions, he actually wanted to redeem himself by guiding another owl to the sanctuary. so this one could find the relics and maybe save the world by performing the anti-hex. But in my opinion, the one who left that message behind is most probably Nocte, since inside of the cave you also find the strange device that teleports your companions to you, presumably advanced technology made by him. Also, when you're about to leave the cave, the music of the Tower of the Owls plays. That's where he invented all of his creations. He probably made that cave unbeknown to the other ancient owls so Otus could find him in the sanctuary.
Oh man, I can't get used to this teleporting business, Otus. I'll never have to walk again.
The last thing I thought and actually tried was this possibility. Maybe I had to wait for any of these ancient owls to actually show up. See, all I could find in the sanctuary were holograms, so it's not actually that one of the four waits. All of them do in the same way. It's true that Nocte is actually very hidden and that he left that message without telling Aegolius. Only Cernia knew about it. In any case, I thought maybe one of them was still alive and that's what was meant by waits. So I decided to wait in certain spots in the hopes of someone appearing. I tried it on this luminous place in the valley cave, since when you cross it for the first time, the three relics or loop symbols shine. There are also these helpful flies flying around, but nothing. I tried it in front of the message, I tried it in Nocte's hologram spot, I even tried it in the Tower of the Owls in front of the statues, in front of the robots, in the room where we found the coin and where Nocte presumably made his inventions, but it was in vain. Then I considered the option that the one waiting was actually there where the sign is. Maybe I had to unlock it somehow. I tried with the shell of the first boss we fight at the beginning of the game. It was odd that it was left there after defeating it, even after you use it to destroy the wall the first time. But no results. I also speculated with the symbols on the wall. What's the meaning of them? Are these hints? The first figure is without doubt Otus or a random owl. Come on, it fits him. The second symbol might refer to a spell, probably the hex or the anti-hex, using 3 dots, which might as well be the 3 relics. Now moving forward to the third figure, it's obviously a reference to the loop, and in last position lays the most intriguing and controversial of all. What is this? The sun? Time? A relic? This thing in the windmill? Maybe it's a figure altogether with the previous symbol? Or maybe it's the broken loop, since it's only half a square of the loop symbol and it's shining. I'll leave the answer to you. Next in our list is Tropos. I don't have much to add to this place besides the part of the seashell. Maybe I just found the object late and it's meant to get when Getty leaves the team for a while after being upset by the joining of Twig. But it's pretty weird to add this object to the game just to see a cutscene where Getty apologizes for his acts and asks Otus for once how he's feeling. Is there more depth into that? Well, maybe it's an answer to Otus' fears from the beginning of the game. Maybe the game is trying to tell you that Otus is getting past those things, and the clue was someone finally asking the owl how he's feeling. Poor Otus. Going back to the seashell, when you listen to it, music stops and you get to hear this. It obviously reminds to the waves on a beach, but what does that mean? If you think about the end of the game, the same sound is displayed. Maybe it's a way for Otus to be relieved by hearing that in the end the loop will be broken and that he will be free. Or maybe, as one of the Bogins suggested,
if you put it to your ear you can hear whispers. At least I do. Haha. Maybe it's the dead talking. Whoa, that'd be really freaky.
Ooh, the Owl Temple. The first time you're about to enter it, you encounter an owl with a cloak. When Solus reveals his identity as the mysterious owl, he wears the same outfit. Now, you might think Solus is the owl from the temple, but here's my theory. He's not. By lying to the pirates and owls, all Solus wants is to go solo with the anti-hex, so why would he bother risking his quest by presenting the Owl Temple to Otus and Getty? Maybe the one behind the coat is none other than one of the four who is waiting. Maybe he wants to help Otus and Getty to find him. Maybe you finally play the loop where Nocte doesn't have to die at all? And here comes Advent. As far as I know, the city is only composed of a school, 2 defensive turrets, some towers, a windmill, an instrument shop, and a mask shop. The funny thing is the most intriguing thing isn't the city itself, but the cloud gardens before it. When I met Saunaman in the aftermath of Advent with all the sad music, I thought these skeletons were casualties of the Advent destruction done by Molstrom. But it actually turns out that these are already there when you first cross the passage before the attack. So, who are these? The ancient guardians that were meant to protect the Owl Temple defensive system? They don't look like owl skeletons for sure. Maybe it's our fate in another loop? Maybe just regular inhabitants of Advents like Toby's wife, but at least it seems she got lucky and got buried. It's also strange that the camera makes a zoom in both these spots without any reason. Why, D-Pad Studio? I could not find the answer. Another curious detail are these owls in the background flying. Does it mean owls are still around the Cloud Gardens and Advent to protect both of them? Well, they already failed protecting the city. There's not much to talk about Strato. There are only 2 things to highlight. The first one is the fact that one of the coins is found below a giant tree with white leaves. Maybe it's a symbol of hope, but I don't see any other meaning besides that. The second thing is the second meeting we have with the incognito owl. This time it's pretty clear it's Solus, because he manifests a personal opinion at the end of his history lesson.
So says the Book of Nocte. I wonder if I have chosen the right path. What the hell?
I'm not going to enter into details of these zones, since I think I already explained everything on the 2 previous episodes. But it's pretty clear the first hex was elaborated and performed in these places. Not much to see here either. Messes is frozen since it's getting closer and closer to space. The only thing worth talking about here is the door opened with Bomberman's key. Okay, one of them was Twig's neighbor and he froze due to what we said before. But what is the real purpose of adding such a sad story? To make them ninjas cut onions again? Is that a reference to something else? Anyway, moving on. And now for the cherry on the cake, the floating tower. When you enter it, the first thing you encounter are 6 statues of Aegolius. This goes to show how narcissistic owls were and how all the merit was given to this guy. Now, when you move forward, you find 4 more owl statues. One of Cernia of the House of Preservation and Diplomacy. He made the Eternal Sanctuary. One of the Combat Instruction Owls. We don't know his name. One of the mean-looking Asio. We don't know his name either. And one of who? We should not deny it could be an unknown owl or the little owl. Guess what? We don't know his name either, but his sprite says something about the Bonacci ancestor. But for me it's pretty obvious. It's Nocte's statue. Yet there is another question to be answered. Why is it broken? Maybe not all the ancient owls agreed with Nocte's theories and maths. Asio and an unknown owl manifest disagreement. Maybe as an act of divergence they destroyed the statue. But there's also this option. It's a deliberate act to cover the failing of Aegolius's machines and its danger. It's easier to say that Nocte just disappeared or left than actually telling one of the defense machines went amok and killed him, right? So it's also an option that Aegolius vandalized Nocte's statue. After getting past the statues, Otus actually gets past two walls where there are paintings of the ancient owls. I'll name them by order. Asio, Aegolius holding a figure, is that a metaphor of the loop being the cage they live in? The combat instruction owl, the little owl, and Cernia. These last two are obviously a painting from the same picture. It would look like this. Maybe the other three would look like this. And maybe the whole picture would look like this. Funny, isn't it? But Nocte is once again not pictured with his colleagues. How could they hide such an important figure and not give him the respect he deserves? Well, the theory of covering everything up fits in here again. Continuing through the different rooms, Otus finds the 3 books of Nocte. There seems to be a trivia left behind by the ancient owls between covering up the disaster of the Anti-Hex and Nocte's death, and actually leaving hints for the future generations to find out the truth. This is what the books are for. Climbing through the floating tower, you find a group of machines which are pretty scary. You don't get to interact with them nor activate them. But I'm pretty sure those are the first machines made to defend the owls, the temple guardians. Just like this froggy, those are the ones that left the combat instruction owl jobless. But they don't look to be the thinking machines that were built later and that would end up being the pirates. Actually, I'm not sure if Nocte's death was perpetrated by a temple guardian or by a thinking machine. Who knows if it was Captain Molstrom. But back to the floating tower. After jumping around and solving puzzles, you get to a room where you find the last coin, which will eventually open the Eternal Sanctuary. One also assumes this was where Nocte was on his mind, formulating theories and doing impossible calculations. But wait a moment, did you see that? Before getting the coin, you can actually see a painting of Nocte of the House of Mathematics and Philosophy. But does he fit in the whole picture of the ancient owls? Kind of. I'll leave the answer to you. So wait a moment. Let's read again the message Otus gets after finding the last coin.
I see you. Did my machines and theories break the loop at last? Did I break the world? With this token, you hold the key. The sanctuary beckons you. Give me the answers I, Nocte of the Owls, have always sought.
He says he sees us, so he might be alive. But he has questions and needs answers about the loop. But we can talk. So I guess the only possible answer we can give to Nocte is showing up to his hologram. But there's more. When you get out of his room, the painting, he isn't there anymore. What does this mean? Maybe he escaped the painting, or is alive somewhere else, or maybe he became stardust and none of the ancient owls ever met him. Remember the last part of the game where you fight Solus to prevent him from performing the anti-hex, but it ends up happening because of Molstrom's desperate objective to get all the relics? What if I actually tried to fail on purpose and get captured by a monstrum? Maybe a different ending would happen. Nope. Well then, let's talk about what happens after the hex. There's a giant beam like with the hex and you get transported into an imaginary world, probably a dream or an alternate reality of what could have been. Otus is finally treated well and his future actually creates interest among the citizens of Valley. Otus is about to get under Asio's wing. But before that, let's note something. In this dream, when you meet the old wise Valley man, yes, we don't have a name again, he wants you to say hi to Letia and Scops. Ever heard of these names before? Me neither. In my opinion, they most probably are Otus's parents. Why? Because in our world, Scops owls are also known as typical owls. There's an owl species from the Scops family and the genus Otus called collared Scops owl. And guess what? Its scientific name is none other than Otus letia. I guess this species was the inspiration owl for the main character. Look how mean he looks here. Moving on, you also meet Solus. He seems the same as always, but maybe he also ended up in the same dream like you after the anti-hex, especially after those last two sentences.
I hope the next time we meet it'll be under different circumstances. There's so much I want to tell you.
But let's get to the part where you finally meet Asio. He begins by completely breaking the idea of you being in a dream. What we are seeing are visions from the future, the past and the present, and it is real. It is the gift for Otus, who actually talks now. All his friends are fine and the anti-hex worked and the islands will fall. But in order to end the loop, Otus and everyone pay the price. They risk their future or Otus's present. So what we are seeing in these visions are in fact the future that won't happen since we lost ourselves. Or died, since we were talking in the graveyard. Then Asio mentions something about learning about the loop in another life. Maybe it refers to the fact that after this ending we can replay the game and check more rewarding things other than how the world ends. Then Otus falls from the sky, credits roll, and there's a last scene where he can be seen falling from the sky like a shining star. And that's it? I refuse to believe this ending is everything, so here comes the analysis of the Eternal Sanctuary along with my final theory. Skipping the obvious parts, I want to focus more on the subjective things. As you know, an ancient owl of the House of Travel alongside Mean Asio does not support the inventions of Nocte and Aegolius and suggests ancient owls should stop deciding things on their own, like breaking the loop, for example. Actually, I tried to figure out the whole sentences. I decided to call him Flameus, because of the short-eared owl, one of the few owls who actually migrate and travel. Its scientific name is Asio flameus. I'm Flameus of the owls, and the House of Travel is my calling. Everyone is rooting for these new thinking inventions. Is it not the duty of the owls to roam the skies? Let us, the owls, fly free and healthy, and we will be cherished. Then our descendants will find their own purpose. But not every owl was a detractor. Cernia, the combat instruction owl, the little one, and an ancient owl of the House of Farming openly manifest their support for Aegolius and Nocte's actions. Of course I'll try to decipher that incognito owl. I will call her Alba because of the barn owls and its scientific name, Tyto alba. These species are natural pest controllers for farmers since they hunt down rodents. We have found a solution, the hex. Luckily we have among us the incredible mind of Nocte. This will break the loop for all eternity. As lead owl of farming, I strongly support him. We're in his debt. By the way, I made her so tall because this speech bubble was so high. She surely was majestic. These two examples prove that the discoveries of the ancient owls sent them into infighting and chaos. Jumping to Aegolius's message and hologram, he mentions "You, my descendant" as his backup plan. Now, it might sound as if you are the mentioned one, but the one who carried that weight was actually Solus. He made the temporary alliance with the pirates in order to get the relics and perform the anti-hex. And he probably knew where the relics were because of the clues Aegolius left behind, which probably were inside those 3 chests you find in the exit of the Eternal Sanctuary. So it's safe to conclude that Otus is in fact Nocte's backup plan. Since he can predict the future through mathematics, he knew he would arrive at his hologram. He also confirms you die if you perform the anti-hex on the floating tower. He records the message the previous day of his death, and his only hope to not die again and again in a loop is a strange inconsistency maybe performed by the hex machine, Otus. If he appears in front of the hologram, maybe he won't have to die at all, and he will spare Aegolius some grief. As I mentioned, the ending of the anti-hex, the visions, and Otus dying already left me empty. But the fact that the other option was opening the Eternal Sanctuary through the coins and reading the recordings and opinions of a bunch of ancient owls didn't fill me that much either. It was clear there was something missing, but I have tried discovering new things in-game, which was a lot of fun, but at the same time brought me mainly to dead ends or nothingness. So what is left for me? Well, here goes my theory on the ending of Owlboy besides the one that the game gives you, which is pretty much fully explained. We have to go back to the floating tower, on the spot where we found the 3rd golden disc. Before getting it, the painting of Nocte is visible. When you take it, the 3rd message displays.
I see you. Did my machines and theories break the loop at last? Did I break the world? With this token, you hold the key. The sanctuary beckons you. Give me the answers I, Nocte of the Owls, have always sought.
After leaving the room, the painting is still there, but instead of Nocte, there's something like stardust or a constellation of stars. But why couldn't we find him anywhere? Why did everything still look like he died? Let's go back to the painting. Stardust or stars is what you see in the drawing after getting the disc. What if, after completing all Nocte's predictions, you actually achieved that he never existed, or that he existed as some form of spirit? That surely also means he doesn't have to die at all, and if Aegolius never meets him, he will never kill him with his machines, nor will he have to grieve for anything. No loop theory is formulated, no thinking machines are built. Maybe that was the work of the hex. Of course, if he didn't exist at all, we shouldn't find a hologram, but for the rest, the theory gave me the satisfaction I was seeking. In conclusion, the alternate ending is the following. When Otus opens the Eternal Sanctuary and meets Nocte's hologram, he breaks the loop, making Nocte become something like a god or a spirit. This way he doesn't have to die at all, The relics are not created because there's no loop to break anymore, and the world stays as it is, with all the good and the bad. Roll the credits. I will leave here a couple of extras that didn't make it into the video. I think the little owl, or as the sprite says, the Bonacci ancestor, was actually a very well-spoken and intellectual owl. Why? Take a look at this picture. Now let's take a closer look to these two. Doesn't the automaton remind you of someone? Alphonse, perhaps? My theory is Alphonse speaks as he speaks because somebody taught him. And I think the Bonacci ancestor had created a really strong bond with him, so he taught him literature and manners. So that's it for the last part of the lore and secrets of Owlboy. I had so much fun analyzing the game and trying to discover the story behind every open door. This video also took a lot of editing, so if you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps me a lot. Thank you for sharing with me this experience and for the positive feedback. See you soon, colors. Bye bye.